I'm just gonna hit record here, just in case.
Um, I do have some questions in
Mhm.
mind. I did book some time for one-on-one tomorrow as
Yep.
well too, so might be able to get a little deeper into that right now. But what
Mhm.
I um what I had the biggest challenge with was just getting the layers kind of like
Mhm.
I guess like dissecting the specific image I was looking at to get exactly what I wanted out of it and leave
Mm,
behind what I didn't want,
mm, mm.
or just kind of playing with images themselves to break them apart, to resituate them, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was not able to really figure that out very successfully.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, that was the hardest part for me, and it's refreshing to hear that the learning part is almost done
Yeah.
because that was the hardest, just like
Yeah.
hours and hours of tutorials. It was
Wow.
just like next,
Okay.
next.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's and
Um,
I'll say this just like on the so it's recorded, and I've said it. I think I've said it before, but Photoshop is it's another language. As I was saying, kind
mhm.
of in the discussion thread, it's like you're dealing with a program that has usually 3 to 5 ways of doing what you want to do.
Mhm.
And so the better you get at it, the more you'll find a new way to do it that's actually easier in the way that you think. But
That makes sense.
initially, you'll have to learn 3 or 4 ways to do it, and you'll be like, I don't even know which one I like better because it's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever done it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's a progression, and so just so you know, I mean, this is totally normal. The learning curve that you're going on is very, and I appreciate I have compassion for you all. It's like years. It's like if you really want to learn Photoshop, it's like a full investment. It'll take you probably a year to get really
Yeah.
really comfortable with it, and that's not
Yeah.
working every single day. Maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, but still, it is like learning
Yeah.
a new language. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I thought I would be kind of okay because I've been using things like Canva for like, ever. And everyone's like, how do you use Canva? And I'm like, well, I know everything. And then
right,
I got into Photoshop shop and I was like, no, this is not the same.
it's not the same.
Not even close.
No,
So
because you have to do there's no automated features. Now I will say that what's cool is Photoshop does have this thing where you can create actions. So if you create a really complex series of steps, and I didn't even cover this in the course because it's so advanced. I didn't even discover it till like 5 years ago. I've been using the program 15 years. It's something that you literally record and you set a series of actions and you can play it back. So if you set like I
oh.
want to scale this image, I want to make it black and white, I want to increase the resolution, you can record all those things and then
Hmm.
you can literally just hit play and it will play through that actions immediately. It'll just
Mm.
apply all those things. And so it's called actions. So if you want to get like super nerdy with it, this can save
Hmm.
you a lot of time when you're working with it's only really good for when you're working with like a lot of photos or
Mm.
many documents that you want to apply the same thing to.
Gotcha.
But it's very cool. It's just quite
Yeah.
advanced. It's so advanced that I didn't even know about it until like I don't know, 2014 or 13 or something.
Wow.
But
Cool.
I will say that Taylor, would you mind do you want to go into a little bit what's going on for you, and do you want to get some clarity around?
I just had one question that I'm
Okay,
having a hard time with.
sure.
I have a really cool portrait that I'm trying to do an effect with that I found online, but there's no tutorial on this, nor is there
Hmm.
like any other images that look like this.
Hmm.
But it looks like two of the same images. Hold up, let me fix my brightness. I'm
Hmm.
just wondering if you knew what I would need to do to kind of get that effect for
Mm.
portrait. Does that
Wow.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, there isn't really like a filter that you
No.
could do to create that sort of thing. What you might need to do is you would basically what I would do is duplicate. It's a little complicated, but you could duplicate the layer and then have a smaller image on top of the bigger image, right? So you have both images that you want. And then there's how there's the rectangular selection tool and the
Okay.
oval selection tool. There's also another one called like I don't even remember what it's called. Let me just see here real quick. And let me just share a screen so I can actually yeah, here we go. can show you. I'll open up my own work just so I don't confuse anybody here. Okay. Yeah, and is that, so you're going for something, that's really cool that you're going for that. That seems
Yeah, I have
ambitious, but really
yeah,
cool.
I know. There's a couple of portraits that I've want to like edit on my own. And then that was the effect that I'm trying to get to, but it just seems to not be working. Yep.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so this is, can you guys see what I'm looking at? Can you see this Photoshop right
Yeah,
now?
background.
Yes. Okay, cool. So what I would do is, okay, so let's say you have a bunch of layers. You're going to have to flatten it. So I would just right click and I would do merge layers, which is right here. And it's going to turn it into basically one flat image, right? So to duplicate, there's a billion ways to do this. The way I like to do it is just to hold down Control J on the keyboard, and I think it's Control J on the PC and Command J on a Mac. And so now I have a duplicate of this image. And so what I would do is so I would scale this down by hitting Control T, or am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. Or you can go to Edit, Transform. It's called Free Transform. You can't see that on my screen, unfortunately, but you basically get these. You get these this navigational box, and you would just grab and scale it down, like by holding Shift.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, they changed that. You don't have to hold anything. You just drag it, make it smaller. And so let's just say, for example, I drag this and I want to position it over top the other image. Now to see behind, like let's say you have a portrait with a background and another portrait with a background, it's a little distracting. What do I do? Well, you can actually turn down the opacity of this to start seeing a little bit behind
like where the other
image
one is going to be laying.
Yes. So it gives you a little bit more bearing on what you're doing. That's just in case, if it's just like distracting for you. So now what I would do is I would go over here to the marquee tool. Okay. And I would select this one, the single row.
Single row marquee tool. Thank you.
Single row marquee tool. See, it says a vertical selection that's 1 pixel wide. And so when I drag it over, do you see what it's doing? It's just literally creating a line, a selection that's only just a single line. And now if I hold Shift, it's going to add another line.
Oh, and then you can make them evenly spaced.
Yeah. Exactly.
But is it adding it on the layer? So if you went to the your main clicker tool, could you move those layers or delete the ones in between?
Yeah, so right now. Okay, hold on. It's actually not operating the way I kind of thought it would be. Shoot. So it's not quite working the way I thought it was. In which case I would just grab the rectangle. Sorry about that. And I would create like one selection that I like, the size of the selection right here, right? So just grab a selection. Now what you can do is you can't see what I'm doing, it's unfortunate. I'm over on the menu screen up top, and I'm going to select, going to where it says select, and I'm going to basically, where is it? Save selection. There's this thing called save selection. And when you click on save selection, it's going to go here. Okay. You know what? This is really confusing. I'm trying to think of an easier way to do this.
Is there a way of cropping the image?
Yeah.
But like keeping the, okay, so is there a way of cropping just rectangles out of the image? I think that might be an easy way for me since I'm so new to this.
I know. I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying not to be too complicated. I basically just make a selection. What if I just made
like a ton of the layers and for each of them, I just cropped out all the rectangles. So like overall, it would probably be the one base image.
You don't even need to do that. You don't even need to do that. Check it out. So what you would do is you would just create this one selection here, and I would hit cut, right?
Oh, stop it. Hold on. Okay, wait, go back 2 steps.
Okay, so I
selection with the rectangle tool?
I've got the rectangular selection. I'm going to create from top to bottom of the screen, all the way down. And I'm going to just decide on the size of it right now. Now, okay, this is going to get a little complicated. This is literally, I think this is the easiest way to do it. So here's what I would do. This is where I would cut out the image normally and it would create that effect. However, how do I get the same selection back? I just use my selection, right? Well, here's this crazy thing over here called paths. Paths, what it does, if I click here, it says make work path some selection. It's going to make this into, it's saving the selection as a path. A path is just like, it's Photoshop saying, I want to remember what you just did. I want to remember that selection. And so I just saved it, and now you have to name it.
Okay.
Vertical. I hope this isn't getting too crazy. It seems like it's getting crazy. But if I click vertical, it's there. It's still there, right?
That's
Anytime
awesome.
I click it, it's there. If I click selection and I click delete, it's the same thing as cutting it out.
And can you move that path?
Yes. If I click vertical and hold it down, I can move it. And
Oh my God.
not only can I move it, but if I hold shift, it'll constrain it to a horizontal movement only.
That's amazing.
So you'll only be
Awesome.
shifting it on the horizontal plane. So you can just
All right, we
shift
will-
it, cut it, shift it, cut it, shift it, cut it. And it might look kind of like it might look really good, or you might just have to eyeball it. You know, it's not going to be perfect. But that's
That was
how,
awesome.
yeah, that's how I would do it.
That was extremely helpful. I've never heard of paths before this.
Yeah, I know.
So that's
I didn't
awesome.
want to get into them.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had the.
No. I just
I'm
mean that,
stubborn.
like, because I am teaching so much in so little time, I didn't want to cover too much. But I hope that kind of
Thank
creates
you.
the effect you want. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. My pleasure. And yeah, so that was a little bit advanced, but I want to let you guys know that basically the second week is like, it's a little bit less about the tools themselves. Like, you can use any of the tools from the first week. You can use just the selection tools and you're good. Or you can use like a blur tool or a selection tool and a sharpen tool. It doesn't really matter. The second week is more about just like keep practicing the same things and just adding a little bit of icing on top. It's really not about, these are not fun. The second week is not about fundamentals. The first week's about fundamentals. So you can feel free to go back and watch the videos again if you need, or YouTube them or whatever. So let's see, Cassandra, do you have anything? Do you have a question about how to do something specific, or?
Nothing specific comes to mind right now.
Okay.
So yeah, I was hoping to hop on and just learn from others' questions today. So
Cool.
that was really cool and helpful because I can see how I could use that. That's a really neat effect. So
It is a very cool effect. Yeah, I think there's some, this is the weird thing. There's all these preset filters that Photoshop does have. They're a little outdated. The ones for like mobile, for phones, that are amazing. I mean, the things that they automatically can do to photographs.
yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to do that stuff in Photoshop.
So like I took a smartphone photography course last semester
Okay.
and learned Lightroom. So I
Okay.
don't know if I could pull things that I'm working on in Photoshop, move them over to Lightroom, do the edits, and then switch it back over.
Yes.
That's doable, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not as familiar with Lightroom, I have to be honest with you, but I think Photoshop actually bought Lightroom. I mean, Adobe bought Lightroom, so they're interchangeable. So you can actually have a ton of your photos or your Photoshop documents stored in Lightroom and access them like that.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
exactly know how that works, but I know that my friend who's a photographer does that, and
That's
it's quite
doable.
effective. Yeah.
Cool.
So as you can see, like I just want to cover this again. So for example, like filters, it's not essential. There's cool stuff in there. You can play around. This week is really just about this sort of stimulating creativity and working on your brand. How is your guys' projects going in terms of what you want to create for your brand? Is that something you've decided on? I know Cassandra's you're a little bit in a different boat right now, but have you thought about that at all?
I have, and I just don't even know right now.
Okay.
I think I was so caught on just trying to figure out how do I use this. Now I'm like, okay, now I have a better understanding of what I can actually do with it. And then from there, I think I'll be able to decide more, okay, what am I actually trying to create now that I understand the capability, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you have a business or like a something that you would want to try to target or make content for?
Yeah, it's the other thing that I've been debating on is, so I have a couple of things going on. I'm an independent sales rep for a direct sales company.
Mhm.
And something I'm trying to do here locally is brand myself more as this like local rep in this area.
Which
And
area?
so Lubbock, Texas.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. It's like,
Mhm.
when you think of people like riding their horses to places, you might sometimes see that here. It's
Mhm.
pretty
Mhm.
Texas, but
Mhm.
but yeah, so and I just moved back here about a year ago, so I'm just getting that kind of ramped back up here. And then what I'm really obviously I'm in school, so I'm getting my degree in Ayurveda. I teach yoga right now, and I'm wanting to keep focus on growing my clientele there. I've started doing some one-on-ones, yoga sessions, and that's been super great, but I want that to continue to grow. And then as I add the Ayurveda stuff like that, kind of, I don't really know what to call that, I don't know if I'm a coach, wellness coach or whatever, but
Mm.
it's not as important as what it is. I'm just trying to like offer people. But
Mhm.
then one big thing about this area is that there's just a lot of there's not a lot of awareness when it
Mm.
comes to anything holistic or mindful.
Mm.
So my first step in putting this business out there is just like, how do I even create awareness? Obviously social media makes a lot of sense, which for whatever reason I've been incredibly resistant to over the last like year or so. It's like I don't want
I
to
can
touch it.
understand. I can understand.
I'm
Yeah.
completely with you on that. I hate social media. Every single time I post,
Yeah.
it usually doesn't even end up happening because I'm always thinking like, why? And then who cares? And then there's so many other things in the world going on. And then like, I don't want people to like even see it if it does reach anyone. It's so, I do not enjoy it. I do not enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I'll say
But
a
it's
couple. Oh, go
effective.
ahead.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
effective. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I feel
Yeah.
like I can't run from it anymore. You can only show up to so many like, shaking hands kind of networking events.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So a lot to say here. Um, I would really like to talk a little bit about social media just because I feel like I've worked through some of those layers of resistance in myself.
Mm.
And I would like to talk about it as a point of leverage for you, but I also want to discuss like what I think would be really cool. And this is just my first thought was when you're talking about it, you're talking about your business. I don't know if Lubbock, Texas is old school and they do word of mouth and they, have like a billboard in the middle of the square that people go and see, posters and like local stuff, or there's a grocery store you could do that. But I would think that if you just created a poster that was just very, very user friendly, easy accessible, something that gave someone an idea. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy. Like Ayurveda you might not even know how to use that word in this town. Like people might just, that's not even a thing. People don't even know what it is. So I would think about branding it something to do with wellness or well-being, but then you might want to sort of cater it to um, like yoga is very common. I'm sure there's a lot of people there who just know what yoga is, or they have some idea. I've heard the word or
Mm-hmm.
something. So you might want to throw in yoga as a footer, or a sub text, and then the main thing could be like wellness consultant or wellness professional or health and well-being with like a fun title. I just think a
Mm.
poster might be a really cool way to do it because it's a way to get a lot of information about who you are and play around with like what would be your catchphrase, what would be your tagline, what would be something that
Mm-hmm.
you would be able to say to someone on the street to even get them to have a conversation with you. And you could have that poster out locally. That's just the first thing that came to me.
Yeah, that makes a
Uh,
lot of sense. Uh-huh.
and then the social media thing, it's interesting because I find I've used social media almost my entire history of it has been like it's like my portfolio, but I'll post and I'll just be like, I'm not looking at anything anyone says. And that's what I did for the first 2 years. I was just like, I do not even want to read comments. I do not want to engage. I just post and I run away. And I tell you, like, it didn't work. I mean, it certainly helped me get over that. Like I had to deal with that, the residual feelings around it, but I never clearly like made a transition into using it for myself to actually build a business, which I am a small business. I do have a small business. I've thought of myself as a freelancer a long time. It's kind of like not healthy anymore for me to think that way because it's very like temporal and it's project to project and there's no stability and it gives you this sort of weird freedom where you're like in a business world but you're not. And so I needed to step it up a little bit, and I recently started posting on Instagram almost every single day. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to feel that feeling in myself, like what is this, these last vestiges of resistance I have around this world of social media. Like it can be so fake. It can be so just like, why? There's so many like why questions in my mind. But what I did, and I'll show you, I just want to share because I have this app, or it's not even an app, it's a thing called Later, and it's like a scheduling platform. And I just wanted to show you guys real quick in case you're interested.
Like
It's
Buffer, right? It's where
yeah,
you assign when your posts are going to be posted, and you can even like write the caption and do the
yes,
tags, and then it just
yes,
yeah. Okay.
yes. What I love,
What's your Instagram?
my Instagram is Paul J Moorhead at gmail.com. I mean, sorry, no Gmail. It's just Paul J Moorhead. um, yeah. And so here, you can see it's really what I like about it is it interfaces between both of my media accounts. I have Moorhead Media, and then I also have Paul J Moorhead as my Instagram handle. And so what I've been doing is I've been using it long enough that it actually shows me key points of the day where it's best to post. Like it actually shows you this pink box is like where people will, or the most people are spending the most amount of time on my site. So that already solves that problem, right? And then, I have a lot of artwork where I do like a carousel. I'll actually do, like I'll show you real quick. Like you can select multiple images, right? And then you can drag them all in. And like I just missed today's whatever cutoff, so I'll just pop it in here. And then it brings it up and it created a carousel of my work, right? So carousels are very, very, they're very good for Instagram. Like they catch a lot of attention, much more than just a single image. That's my understanding of them. But you can even put in hashtags. You can write your whole caption here, and it just pushes it to your phone. So as soon as you schedule it, you don't even have to look at Instagram. You literally can just be like, yes, I want to publish this on my phone. And anyway, so I really love this one because the interface is just really easy. And it's the simplest version is free, which unfortunately only allows you to do one image at a time. Um, but I would say this, like, think of your social media account. It's not a portfolio. It's really a platform, and I said this last week, for engaging and connecting with your audience and with the people who care about you. And that might just start out to be very basic, like it's just your friends and family. It's just it could be like three people. But you're engaging in this conversation hub where everyone can access and see what your passion is and where you're putting your attention on. And if you want to grow a really fast following on Instagram, the best way to do it is to don't even post anything about yourself, anything about your own life, which I've recently heard, and it makes a lot of sense to me. You literally just try to add value. Try to add value from your niche to your audience in a way that they can engage with, in a way that's either vulnerable or it's affirming or it's giving something that gives them a chance to engage. And so you see a lot of people do this. You see a lot of people who are literally just like, they don't even post every day. They post once a week. And how do they have 50,000 followers? It's because they're having these conversations. They're using it as a platform to engage. They're using it as a platform to like direct attention. And attention, a lot of times, this is what a lot of, I guess you call them influencers or whatever you want, but they talk about this. This is the new currency, is attention. I honestly believe that like a brand, you building a personal brand, it's the best time ever to do that right now because there's more and more attention on personal brands and what an individual can bring to to music, to health, it's like there's so much information, but how do we get that information? Well, these days we get it from people. We get it from people who are able to share those gifts through social media. It's really hard to like meet a kid who's like, oh, I read all these books on yoga and that's how I learned yoga. It's like, no, I followed this and this and this person on yoga, and I'm like, I just want to be like them, right? So it's quite a different world, and I think it's time to kind of embrace that. And I'm not saying you have to be on social media all the time. It's just like that's where you're going to get the most engagement, by connecting with people. So
Are you teaching social media marketing?
I wish. I don't honestly know
I just
enough
feel like the way
about
that
it.
you described all that was so sincere, and like, I don't know, man, like how attention is the new currency.
Yeah.
That just like hit. I completely agree.
Oh, cool.
Well, I
Thank
just
you.
followed you, so.
Oh, hey, all right, thanks. Yeah, I really believe that. I mean, I think that it's our new way to connect, and these COVID times is a perfect testament to that. Times are not, they might seem like they're getting a lot better and a lot easier just because the political situation has died down, right? But honestly, we have to start looking at the future trends. And there's literally a company called The Future that I follow practically every day. Like they're a branding company, they're an educational service. They teach you all kinds of ways for you to like market and do typography and be a graphic designer. But anyway, so yeah, that's my spiel on that, on the social media piece. Um, and yeah, so this week is the first time that you'll be able to share your work, where you can actually put a piece of content up online. And I know whoa, that's really scary, or maybe it's not, but I feel like this is the time for you guys to start engaging with your work outside of the lens of the creator. And by the end of the week, I hope that you can have a few pieces up on your it can be either your Instagram or your Behance. If you have an Adobe account, you can log into Behance. It's free. It's like built into the Adobe platform, and you can put your stuff up on private, and nobody has to see it. But just so you get that feeling of like what it's like to publish and what it's like to like let go of that piece and just let it go. Just put it out there. You don't care what people think. People might never even see it. I don't know. If they do, that's cool. But if they don't, it's fine. But just feel out what that feels like. And I'm hoping by the end of the class you'll have a few pieces, online that you're proud of. It's your journey, right? And what do people care about more? Journey, people's story. That's really what matters. The storytelling aspect of the media world and of creative world and even industry now, people are hiring storytellers to be able to tell a good enough story to sell product. It used to be like that was kind of the case, but then they had all the, whatever. They get into flashy certain things, or they try to sell it with sex, or they try to sell it with shock, or they try to sell it with whatever. And now people are realizing that just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't last. It might work very short term. So we're working more on the level of value and trying to figure out how to tell a story. So, think about that as you're sharing your work. It's like, it might be really scary to share a piece that you don't think is perfect, but it might be a valuable experience to do that too.
Yeah, I can see that. It's funny because I actually recently, like last year, I like archived like everything on my Instagram because I was just in a transitional phase, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been empty since then. So I'm like that weird person who has like one post on their Instagram. Like,
That's
but
great.
to your point, I
Great.
use it all the time. I follow people like crazy. Like Instagram is my library. It's not, the things I don't follow friends. I love them. I just don't follow them very often. And it's the place that I go to for information or finding local businesses and like all of the weird hours that we always have. Like, I know without a doubt everyone's Instagram is updated, and that's the most reliable source for information. It's so weird, but that's what I use Instagram for. So yeah, I'd love to be a part of that and stop being on the sidelines.
We want you to be. There's the thing. I get it. I get it. You know, we all feel like, well, I don't really. It's like, who am I? Who am I, right?
Mm.
Who am I to share this? It's like, who are you not? Who are you not to share yourself? There's nobody like you. There's no one in the world like you. So like if we're holding that, if we're really being true to that ourselves, it's not even so much about shouting and saying, this is who I am to the world. It's really just like giving people the opportunity to say hi, giving someone the opportunity to be like, oh, I want to be your pen pal, but I want to do it through Instagram. Like it's so much more intimate these days than I think people, and especially me. Like I know for me, it took me a long time to gather. I waited 4 years to get on Facebook. My sister was like, if you're not on here, like you're, I don't remember what she said, but she's like, she's on everything before I am. You know, she's 5 years younger, and I just don't care about that stuff. I really don't. But it's sort of like the new cell phone. Like, remember when a cell phone came out and you're like, wait, what? I can have everyone I know on this thing? Like, I don't even have to have a phone book anymore. I don't know if you guys are, I don't know how old you are, but that happened to me and I was like, this is crazy. And then it's like, okay, now we have screens and you can like see everything and you can see people. What? That's crazy. You could be on the internet? Wait a minute. And then now we're like, oh, wait, no, we can communicate through 7 different channels to every single person we know. And they're almost like different flavors of themselves on each channel. Like they give different value. It's not that they're different people or that it's disingenuous. They're giving different parts of themselves on each of these channels. It's really incredible. And that's another thing I would say. If you're going to post on like Instagram, you know, there's a whole science to that. And if you're going to be posting on Facebook, there's a different science to that. And Twitter, obviously, it's like much shorter. It's different science to that. So that would be worth looking into. I would stick with what you know best. Stick with one thing. Instagram is not going anywhere, even though it's bought by Facebook. Facebook is not going anywhere, even though it's like all our parents are on it, and that's like cool, whatever. I would say if you're more into audio visual content, Instagram is good, but just jump on YouTube. Just start making YouTube content absolutely immediately. Start getting, you know, just like every little thing you do. If it's a 2-minute video, 1-minute song, just put it on YouTube. If it's more visual stuff, definitely Instagram. If it's design and video, you probably want to be a little more niche. You know, you could be on Behance is really good. YouTube is also really good, but like design is a little bit different. There's 2 sets of design, right? There's typography, and then there's more like illustration, and there's sort of 2 worlds that sometimes come together. So Instagram's really good. I would say be on there for sure. Yeah, that's my piece on social media.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you have questions about this week? Like where you're both kind of at with that? I know Cassandra's a little behind because you were on a trip, right? Or
Yeah, it was a work-ish trip,
Mhm.
mostly work, but I have friends and family in the area, so it comes both.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. But I am trying to be done with trips for a while because it can be
I hope so.
too much. Yeah, it can be too much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
But
Okay.
but I did take a look at week 2 and the tools, kind of trying to get a little bit of an idea of what they're
Mhm.
about and stuff like that. So I should be totally caught up and fine from here.
Honestly, if you want to skip most of the tools in week 2
Hmm.
and just focus on the assignment and the sharing your work, and like you could easily
Okay.
do that. Like if you really want to just catch up as fast as you can, I would skip most of the tools. I would look at
Okay.
the type tool for sure. You need to look that up. And the pen tool, but don't worry about the blur and the smudge tool. Don't worry about the filters. Just jump
Okay.
into like your work because
Hmm.
I think you're going to need that time. You're going to need kind of
Okay.
like every spare moment that you got right now to start plugging in and just be in Photoshop. Just spend your time in
Yeah.
Photoshop, right? Um, Taylor, were you
Okay.
going to say something?
No, I just I think my bad. I didn't read on what the research assignment was, but I have it
Mhm.
pulled up right now and it seems completely doable.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really easy. It's like
Yeah.
pick a couple artists, be like, I'm interested in this artist, and you could just literally just save 5 of their artworks and just write about it. And it's like less than
Awesome.
half a page of writing, I think. I know
Yeah.
it looks like a lot because there's all these moving parts, but it really is going to help you. It's
And then
not to
number
like,
two is just
yeah.
something, it has to be something for our brand. And it can be all the
Mhm,
different avenues
mhm.
that like we discussed in the
Totally.
last class. All right,
I,
cool.
yep.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna actually try that.
Yep.
And if I can't get the, hold on, let me research it. If I can't get the paths, then I
Mhm.
think while you were doing that, I found a really more tedious way in my head where it's just cropping and like duplicate layers till like I have all of them as
Mhm.
different. Like, yeah, that one might not work, but paths would be dope.
Don't do
It's
that.
gonna be awesome. I think
I
it's
mean,
gonna be
don't do
dope.
that first thing. I think you. I love the idea. I love the idea. I'm just trying to remember because I'm feeling kind of. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. There's an even better way to do what I did. Start on the way that I told you, but I've seen it before where someone's made like a series of selections that's actually equally distributed, and
That'd be sick.
they used some sort of setting that I hadn't seen before. It's some mathematical
So,
thing.
but that's what it's called though. Is it
Yeah.
called series of selection?
Okay. So if I was
So
to
if I
start,
went to tutor, if I went to like, you know,
yeah.
troubleshoot this on YouTube and just look for like how to do, I would be doing series of selection or series of paths.
I would try to no, not pass.
Okay.
That'll lead you astray. I would say, you know what I'd do? Okay, so I would search for first window blind or like
Oh,
window blind photographic effect on Photoshop. How to create the window blind photographic effect on Photoshop. I just made that up, but I'm sure somebody thought of that, like, oh, this is what that looks like, and just like, made a tutorial about it. You
yeah.
got to be like
Those are,
really sideways thinking to be able to like find kind of what you want,
yeah.
so
I'll try all of that. That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll also look, there might have been a video somewhere that I could probably bring up. I'll see if I can find it, if but go ahead
Watch
and
me
do
try
that.
to do this and then not even like it and like restart on something completely different.
But let me
Oh
ask, what is
man.
this? This is for your business or your brand, or is just doing it for fun?
I think I'm gonna make this for branding,
Okay.
but it's gonna be in the style of an album cover. Our album covers are already done and made, so it's
Got
not
it.
like I could actually use it, but it would be really cool to still like learn it in Photoshop for like maybe next time we're doing things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Hmm.
it's just gonna be a an attempt at
Hmm.
something that I've not done yet because I want to edit the image first and
Hmm.
make it like clean with the blur tool with like following another tutorial I found online that's like, you know, it does like retouch and it makes you, it's like for portrait photography in
Hmm.
Photoshop, like how to touch up. So I'm going to follow that thing first, and then when I have like that image done and saved and exported, then I want to try that weird filter over it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm into
I'm done
it.
with the retouching and things. So like I somewhat of a success on like
Cool.
retouch, but
Cool.
yeah.
That sounds great. It sounds great. You got it. You got this. Don't worry about it. I mean, even if you mess up, you're gonna learn so much. And the
Oh my
only way you
gosh.
can mess up is if you decide you don't like it. Right? I mean, honestly, like, what does that even mean? Like, the effect is gonna be the effect. And if it's not the exact thing you had in your head, that's a huge learning experience that you just acquired. So there's more mileage you can put into Photoshop than anything in the world. Your car should have like, you know, a lot of miles on it, but like you could put that same amount into Photoshop and you'd still be learning stuff, honestly. It's crazy. Yeah, anyway, I won't get into that. Yeah, so it's like this week is really about doing that, getting clear on your project. So Cassandra, if you want to do a poster or if you want to keep it simpler and you want to do like a business card, for example, and that could be simpler. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but um, then you will need to look at the type tool and how the type formatting works. And just make sure, like always, like I think I've emphasized this a lot, but name your layers and name them so they make sense to you. And when you get like 20 layers or 30, like even more, put them in a folder. So, for example, I'll give you an example.
Mm.
Um, when I create an illustration and there's a background, and the background I start getting more and more ideas for it. And I'm like, I don't like that first one. I'll keep it. I'm not going to delete it, but I want to try something else. And let's say I have 5 layers that are all background related. I'll create a folder called background, put them all in there, collapse it, never look at it again. And then I'll start on the next thing. I'll be like, okay, character, here's the sketch. And then I'll build that up, color, lines, shadows, highlights, effects. That's already 6 layers. Now I need to collapse that down. So now I have 2 folders, right? Background and character. It's 2 separate folders, both with layers inside. Do you need me to show you how to do that, or?
Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Because that sounds really smart.
It just helps.
Do it that way.
It just really helps. Like, it helps navigationally. It helps. Let's see if I can get back to this version here. Undo, 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 undo. You guys seeing this? I'm just undoing a billion times, hoping that it's going to get back to
I did
to where I had
a
layers.
million times. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and honestly, I'm really, you guys are doing really well. Everything you've done. So there we go. Okay. Everything you've done so far, like your first project, Taylor, it is really powerful. Actually, I like had an emotional response, you know? That's pretty cool for just like your very first project. So, okay, so you can see background, right? So here, let me just hide all these. I just want to show you what it looks like without a background. So I just started with a plain background. I started with a plain blue because it's like a complementary to her skin, and some of these other colors kind of match nicely. And you can see this original scan of the drawing is at the bottom. That's the background layer. You don't really want to edit your background layer ever. So if you're opening like a photograph, you would want to duplicate that photograph onto a new layer and start editing that instead of like messing with your background. Because Photoshop is always going to destroy the thing that you're working on, and then you'll have to either go backwards a million times or go to an earlier version of it to be able to recover that original document. So you always duplicate the very first thing you import, and then work from that. Work up, you know, build a hierarchy for yourself. And so, for example, this is like, let's just say I created a new layer. I wanted to try a gradient. I was like, that's kind of cool. But it's still, I need to think about all this other stuff. There's a shadow under her. There's a shadow under the water pipe. Then there's the sky. I want it to be more like actually look like India, which is like the sky's burning a lot. It feels like it's really hot, you know, and that's the effect I wanted to go for. Then I started adding in these textures. I like found this really cool stone texture, started overlaying it, and then this is the exact same layer with an effect. So I'm working up, but like, look, if I show you here, this is how it looks normal, and I just multiplied it so it became like a shadow and that texture just applied, it overlaid onto the colors that were underneath it. It multiplied the layer beneath it and the layer on top to create this new like darker textured layer, right? And then I said, that's pretty cool, but what if I did that again? See, oh, sorry, this is what it looked like. So this is what it looked like with the multiply. You can see normal, it's very bright. I didn't like that very much. So I multiplied it, and that's the difference. Huge difference, right? And then I added another layer, which I wanted to brighten it up. And it's a little intense, but I'll show you what I did to it. I added like a little more brightness. There's her shadow, the background, kind of like a stone wall kind of situation there. And this is weird. I don't know why it's doing that. I think I changed the dimensions of it at one point. It should be cropped all the way, like flush on the left side, but it's kind of strange here. And then I just, at some point I created a folder for the background, and how I did that was right here, next to the new layer icon, create a new layer. You have this create a new group. It's called a group. Excuse me. It's a group, but it's a folder. It's the same thing. And I created a new group, and I just basically clicked and dragged all these into the group, right? And what I did was I clicked one, and this is similar to like moving photos around. Oops. Sometimes that happens.
When you do that, does the placement, because I notice when like you move the different layers up, then they come and become like the prominent thing on the layer.
Yep.
And so you organize it. when you move it into a group or a folder, does it save the placement, or is it done with like the one that's most recently brought into that folder? Is the one at the top of the layer?
Really good
So
question.
you want to go down
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
list.
What I would do is I would literally click on the top one. Here's how
Mhm.
I would do it. And then I would hold shift, click on the bottom one. I just selected all my whole group, just like you're moving files on the computer. And then I would click and drag that up. It's going to keep the exact same hierarchy.
Awesome.
And now they're all in this new group, right? Well, they're actually not in this new group. They should be in this new group. I just kind of missed it. Here we go. Let's do that. Boom. They're all there. So if I collapse that, you can see they're all in this new group in the exact same order that I kept them in, right? Now, just for fun, like I'll show you, like the skin is all just one layer. So that's above. I put the clothing on top of the skin because there's like, for example, this needs to be on top of this in case like I go over. I'm not going to get into this. This is really this is going to get more and more complicated the more I talk about it. But essentially, to create a group, it allows you to store your layers in one convenient area, and then it also allows you to sort of stay organized in your mind because you're like, okay, this is all related to this thing that I'm still working out the details of. I don't necessarily have to have it perfect yet, but I want to move on to this other thing. So you can just be like, okay, let's put that away for now. I'm going to start this other little project and see how I can do with that. Okay, let's put that away for now. And I don't know if you work like that. That's how I work. It's a little scatterbrained, but it actually gets me out of my head and more into like flowing with my creative process. Otherwise, the digital world can be very stagnant. Like for me, it's a little bit difficult to be creative inside of Photoshop, quote unquote. But that's why I would really encourage, if anyone's a visual artist, eventually to get a drawing tablet, because that actually allows you to like physically maneuver in the space with your hand in a way that's actually satisfying. Like you actually moving around, like drawing things and moving things and with a pen, and it's pretty cool. It's like less than $100 for like one of the best ones out there. Yeah. Is that helpful though? Does that little bit help a little bit? Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah. I'm so curious, like looking at the little project that you had up, it's like my brain really likes step-by-step instructions and to be able to see like the whole thing. And then I like to go in. So like you started that with a sketch. So you just sketched the little girl, uploaded that sketch, and then you just said, okay, let's add this color here.
Let me
and
show
then
you. I'll show you the very original. Let's go all the way back. That was the sketch. That's the blue drawing that I scanned in from my sketchbook.
Super cool.
And then I said, well, I want to make it more blue. I added this blue like it's a soft light to bring it up. And then actually, I'll show you, the truth is I didn't build it up from the background, right? I actually built it up from detail. So I actually went in and started drawing her, like, I'll just show you how I would do this. I would actually duplicate the sketch. Like, I have some hotkeys to do this, but basically I just drag this down to the plus, it duplicates it. Now it's locked, so I need to click here to unlock it. And then I would turn the opacity down to like half. And I wouldn't be working with this. And also, I'm sorry, I would also add a white background. Excuse me if I'm going too fast.
That's okay. No, just go.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So I would work with I basically created line art on top of the drawing. So I decided that I liked a lot of the way that the folds in the clothing were working. And I knew that I was going to be working with color. So I did this in stages. I created some line art, but then I went and I added what's called flat. In the animation industry, we call it flats. Now, let me see if I have some here to show you.
Yeah, so how did you like get the color, like her shirt? How did you get the shirt to be yellow and keep all of the lines that you had?
Good question. So the clothing is on this lower layer here. See, if I hide that, it's actually, the clothing is underneath what's this layer, this detail layer, right? So if I hide the detail, you see this is on top.
Ah,
So this is sort of like this yellow thing. I knew I wanted to use yellow for either her, I didn't decide yet, either her dress or her shirt, so I just made the whole thing yellow because I don't like drawing on top of white. White to me is just, it gouges my eyes. You know, it's just too much. It's too high contrast. So I actually had this blue. It's very interesting. This isn't sort of doing what I want it to. It's not really soft light. Yeah, there we go. So I was working on this blue and I was just like, okay, I want to put this yellow so I can actually start working off of that yellow color. Now I created the line art, which was in the detail, which I drew with a tablet. I actually drew the lines. So it'd be very difficult to do this by hand with a mouse, with the brush tool.
yeah.
Like, we're talking like stupid difficult. Like it would be frustrating beyond what you've experienced so far. And so, yeah. And so basically, I started building up the tones. I was like, okay, I want to have a different contrasting colors. So I'll have like a blue green, you know, with her sandals. So we've got blue, green, and yellow starting to get complementary colors. Now her skin tone, originally I wanted it to be really dark, which I thought was like beautiful. I think, you know, just this complement between the blue and the brown. And then this is sort of the original line art. This is how her skin looked with the highlights and everything. I did this all in one pass with the brush, just going over it with like opacity, and then I went over it again to make it more red. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like, now she's like from South India, right? Now she's got like really rich, like darker skin. And then I went in and added these, you can see these highlights. So I went back in, and we've talked about this a little bit. See how this is set to lighten? What I did is I selected the same color of her skin, and I'm going very fast here. You can watch this again if you ever want to like do this with your drawing or like create an effect again and like this. So I actually used the exact same color as her skin by using the eyedropper, sampling it. I'll just show you. If I use the brush tool, I'll show you how this looks. Skin tone highlights. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not quite working the way I want it to. It's actually painting the exact same color because, is this something to do with this? See, I run into issues all the time. I'm just like, I don't even know why it's not working. But basically, this lighten effect is what it is. This lighten effect makes it show up. If I hit normal, you can see it's like, it's a mid, it's similar, but if I go to lighten, it brightens it up a little bit. And the opacity is pretty low. See, 100 is a little bit too much. I actually reduced it down because I was drawing on top of a dark color and it wasn't really, I didn't like the effect much. So I reduced the opacity down. If you don't like what you're doing, but you like the idea of it, try reducing the opacity like by half. Make it subtle. Make it subtler than you think it should be, you know? And then try it again, or try it in a different way. That's honestly a really fun way to just like, it's not exactly what I want, but I'm not going to delete the layer because I just did all this work. Let me try it a different way. Let me just reduce the opacity just so like I have the idea of what I'm working on. That's how I work as an animator, because in animation you're drawing on top of drawing on top of drawing, and you can see the drawing behind it. And you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing, kind of, but I'm not distracted by that. So there's a whole like, this is how I work. I don't know if this is how everybody works, but yeah, and then I just drew the pants. You can see the shadows were not there before, neither were the highlights. You can see it's pretty plain. The pants, I like this pink color. And then I went in and added another layer for the shadows, and another layer for the shadows, and another layer for the shadows. And then I made it more pink, you know, and then I added real shadows because I was like, it's still not dark enough. And then some more highlights, and then, right? And so I just like, this is not necessarily standard. Like a lot of people in Photoshop would have like one shadow layer, one highlight layer, and they would just nail it. For me, I was like not happy with 6 or 7 versions. And so I'm just like, I need to push this. I need to make this more, this needs to be more of this, more of this, more of this. And I like the effect because it really feels like it's midday, and it really feels like you really get this cast shadow underneath it. It's really rich, you know, whatever this color is, chartreuse, I don't know.
Are there ways of just putting in source of light into Photoshop like there are for After Effects and Premiere?
I wish so much.
Because when I need things to change, I I love Premiere. Premiere is
Oof,
my like
oof.
best friend. Me and Premiere and After Effects, we go like
I love
I
it.
love that thing. I do
Oh
not
my
know
God.
Photoshop or things with images, but
Huh.
because we insert something, we just do like a
Mhm.
masking layer, and then we show you this is where the light source is going to come into, especially like if it's chroma keying things for green
Yes.
screen, like you just show where you want that.
Yes.
So if you just put a sun in the upper left corner,
Well, here's what you can do.
it wouldn't do the effect after the
It's a really good question. Now, there is this thing called render, and I'm not sure how this is going to work. Let's just say, for example, I want to do it on the lighting. I'm hoping this doesn't crash my computer. It probably won't. I'm just going to hide the shadows, and there's this thing called, it's under, why is it not working? Oh, here's why. Okay. Because Photoshop is a layer-based program, so if you were to apply like a lighting effect, you'd have to choose which layer it would apply to. So you would have to flatten everything down. Like I'd have to flatten the whole character down into one layer, and then go to render, lighting effects. Let me just see if that's right. Render, yes, lighting effects, and I'll just show you. I'll bring it up real quick. It's a pretty intense like filter. It's like rendering this whole composite based on the. I'll bring it in. I'll show you guys. Wait, you can see that, right? Okay, sorry, I don't need to move it at all. So this is a lighting. This is light. It's creating a light source right now. Now, the thing with this is, it's very, very, very system hungry. Like this could crash most computers, right? Or just like it's so difficult for you to like do this and play around because it's just chugging along. At least for me. Maybe you guys have supercomputers. I don't know, but so yes, it can work, and you have some cool effects here. You have spotlight, you have point light. You can play around with the dimensions of it, how dark you want it, even the color. You can change the tint. So this is this thing under filter called lighting effects, but it only applies to one layer. So that's the issue, right? Because Photoshop's not built to sort of
yeah.
It's not really built for that kind of thing. It's not built for compositing. It's not built for like turning something into a three-dimensional space. Like it can do that. It actually can work in 3D. They just released some tools for that. But it's like you need a really good computer because Photoshop's already crashing people's computers in this class. Just baseline. Yeah, we've had like 3 people who are already like can barely even have Photoshop open for 5 minutes before it crashes. It's been crazy. So I wouldn't, it's
Is that
certainly
a graphics card thing or a RAM thing?
it's a graphics card thing for sure.
Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine.
But I love, you're good. Yeah, no, you're good. But you could certainly you could play around. What I would do is I would save a new version, flatten the image, and then maybe try the lighting effects thing on that one layer and see how it looks. See if you like it. I know it's a lot.
Sweet.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Great question. I love these questions. Let me just real quick. Let me share I just want to go really quickly over the research project because it seems like you guys are both kind of thinking about that, or you looked at it briefly. So let's just look at this real quick. I just want to go over this so that the people tomorrow have access to this. So this is a cool quote. Would you mind reading it, Cassandra? Cassandra, right here.
Research for design is a way to weld your discoveries through reading, visiting, touching, and even tasting into a creative vision.
Thank you.
Aaron Shaughnessy.
Shaughnessy. I mean,
Okay.
it's probably Irish or something. I don't know. But yeah, so this is sort of the idea. This is a way for you guys to sort of increase your capacity for thinking outside the box and also just broadening your possible ideas for a project, because do a little research, you'll see what's out there. Hopefully you won't be like, oh my God, it's too much. This is crazy. People are amazing. I do that every day. I'm like, people are so good. I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. But don't be like that. I have some issues around that. So this is what research is for. It's to sort of broaden your scope And this is the opportunity to do a little bit of writing in the class. You guys have been amazing on the discussion threads. I can't even say how much I've been enjoying reading them, and the support you've been giving each other is exponentially fulfilling and very valuable. So this is a way for you to dive deeper into that writing aspect of the course. And so basically you can choose, it says 1 to 3 artists. So you can choose one artist. But if you do choose one artist, please choose at least minimum 10 images of theirs. And what that means is you're diving deeper into their work. You're not just looking at one image and saying, I like that, I'm going to write about that. You're going deeper. You're taking a little bit of a deep dive into their little work. You create a folder for that, and then you write a page on it. 300.
So are you writing a page on each one of the artists that you're choosing?
If you choose 3, you write 600 words, meaning you would write 200 words on each. If you choose 1, you'd write 300 to 600 words on that one artist. On that, and basically you're writing on, how did I frame this? Let's see. Make sure you have an intro statement, organized. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can write on one piece of art, or you can write on the person's body of work, the entire, her style and her collection. But I encourage you to keep it simple for yourself because you got a lot going on. Yeah, and basically these are just prompt questions. These are just things that I kind of led just to see if they would help you start writing and take a launch point from. Now, this is pretty obvious. You've been in college and you know how to write an essay, but it's basically just you need an intro, a body, and a conclusion, and then just articulate your ideas clearly, and then be organized. Just like have folders, make sure you're structured. I guess I did yeah, I am grading for that in this exercise. Yeah, okay. And then this is a discussion thread, so please share your research, your essay with the class as a post, and then comment on other people's. Make sure to say, hey, this is really cool. I like this artist. Or, yeah, go ahead. Did you have a question? Or
Is it below? Is it below this?
What
the
is
discussion thread?
It will be. There is.
Okay.
It will be once people submit.
So we'll submit it, and then it will just end up being a.
Mm-hmm. It'll be
Okay,
populated. It'll be populated once you reply on 1 or 2 people.
And are we just submitting the Google Drive folder that has the artist's art, the paper, and then? So we have to make sure that Google folder is a shareable link, accessible to anyone, not just those that have the link.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I'm gonna clarify.
I thought that was part of the organization.
No, it is for me. I want you to share the Google Drive folder for me. So just make it shareable, make it shareable to me. But just for simplicity here, let's just paste your essay, and then you have the option of either pasting the link that you got from their work, whether it be Pinterest, whether it be their website, or one image. You could actually save the image onto your desktop and paste it into your essay in Canvas. Make sense? I think that's way easier. Honestly.
Way easier. Yes.
But please share the folder with me I should really make an emphasis on that, but I'll just send an email about it to everybody. Because it's really good questions. Thank you. I honestly, I've had a hell of a time putting this thing together. And it's been fun for me too.
4 weeks. It does not seem like an easy task at all.
It was 8, and then I had to cut it in half, and then I had to adapt it to an online course and all sorts of stuff. It was a trip. I enjoy it though. I enjoy meeting you guys and being able to work with real people and seeing their incredible breakthroughs and challenges and all of it. It's really fulfilling. So the webinar for the TM checking is this weekend. If you want, it's not required, but if you do, tomorrow 10 a.m., 15 minutes, get your TM checked, just get flush with it.
What time is that for you, Cassandra?
Yeah.
I'm on Central.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And where are you, Taylor?
That's like 8 a.m. for me. I don't think so.
West
Coast. I got you.
Yeah.
It's
LA.
optional.
Yeah.
If you feel it, and I'm sure you'll have another opportunity if you don't. It's up to you.
I still have a bi-weekly with my initial instructor.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so luckily she's been she's been really on it because my band got the TM thing before I even heard about the school.
That's so rad.
So, but I really want to do one with the classes. That's just a little bit too early for me.
Got it. Understood.
Makes sense.
And then
This was awesome.
So yeah, Zoom class. This is the recording will be here. And the assignment, real quick, I'm just going to open that to review it, just to share if there was anything we missed. Oh, yes. Okay, so real quick, the grading thing is kind of important. I will be accepting work up to a week of the actual, it's crazy, up to the actual due date of the thing, but your grade will suffer. So within 24, we'll say this. If it's due if it's due Sunday at midnight, by Monday at midnight, I'm going to start deducting minimum 0.5 points. 0.5 points, excuse me, not minimum. 0.5 points per day on the assignment, total. So if you get 3 days late, that's, almost 2.5 points off, which is a significant amount if it's a 10-point assignment, just so you know. I have to do that. It's literally just became a thing at MIU, like this week, where they're really pushing for online students to just be like on time with stuff. And I know this has been insane because you're learning a new language called Photoshop. So I am trying to be as lenient as I can with the whole thing. And it's a new law. I don't know what it is. It's literally like a legal thing that they just introduced, which is scary because they say that word and I'm like, that doesn't, why? Why is it legal? I don't know. It sounds like it's illegal. Anyway, so yes, using 3 to 5 tools. So you could use the same tools as before, or you could jump into the pen tool, custom shape tool, and the type tool. I would recommend checking that out. Cassandra the most, for sure. Okay. And yeah, even if it's a work in progress, don't feel it's got to be perfect. And I know that's easy to say, but come up with a few versions. If you like to save along the way, that's a really effective way to continue your trajectory so you don't get stuck and be like, I don't like this, I'm going to delete everything or something crazy. Like just save a new version and keep working on it. That's how I like to think of it. It's a progress. It's not a destination. Yeah. And you got your logo design, business card or poster. Could be for yourself, could be for a class, could be for your dog. I don't really care. And then here's the grading. So make sure to check that out. I would love for you guys to publish. You do need to, but it's only 1 point if you really, really don't want to for some reason, to publish one social media platform. Behance, Instagram, Facebook, or Dribbble, which I don't even think I've used, but it's very cool. So, and that's it. I give you a ton of, in the intro of the week, I always give you like assignment examples. I don't know if you saw those. There's some pretty cool ones. You can see in the intro, there's usually these tabs at the top once it loads. Okay, well, there's an example. Okay, never mind. There it is. So album covers, I just went through and found some ones I thought were cool. I found ones that are pretty simple, so you guys can, not get stumped. But you can see how would they have done this. This is literally what you did, Taylor, with your son. But there's actually, look how cool it is. The texture of the wall is in the circle, and it's not outside, right? So they sort of did this selection mask with the circle, and did a layer overlay. So it's probably an orange. I would guess, if I were to guess, it's an orange circle that they set to multiply layer, and then they inverted the selection and deleted that textured background out from that layer, right? So they inverted the selection, chose a different layer, deleted the background. You can do cool stuff like that. You can use the same selection on different layers, right? So anyway, I thought that was kind of fun. And yeah, there's other examples too. T-shirts, I didn't really know. I thought I'd just throw some stuff in here. Yeah. So there's always examples. Feel free to use those or not. And yeah, let me know. Hit me up. I got a lot of time tomorrow. There's still a couple open slots if you want to do a Saturday one-on-one, and definitely Monday night. Check in and have a great weekend, y'all. Really fun.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great
Awesome.
rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time. See ya.
Bye.